Hey guys, welcome to the FightCast, where we talk all things fights, faith, family, and fights. I am Charity Phillips, the special guest host today with Coach Aaron. We get to do a little bit of interviewing of him, role reversal. What you got, Coach Aaron?
I just want to say I'm so honored to be on this FightCast, one of the most prestigious FightCasts in all of YouTube, and thank you for having me on the show as a guest today.
And thank you for your patience with me as a new co-host. We've also got Miss Esther Phillips here in support of Dad. We are here today because Coach Aaron's got a big fight coming up. Tell us a little bit about your fight, Coach.
So, yeah, I'm competing not this Saturday, but next on April the 15th in Kansas City, Missouri. So I'm super excited about that. My opponent is Gaston Bolanos, pretty savvy kickboxer, Muay Thai striker, and his resume comes from Bellator. He was a featherweight, making his move down to bantamweight, and we've actually trained together just for a short time, maybe a few days, while I was visiting their academy in California, CSA gym out there, and so he was a nice guy. I got nothing but good stuff to say about him. And his coaches and everything over there. So but this is the fight game, and it is what it is, right? So I know he feels the same. So yeah, but I'm super excited about it. Going to Kansas City on Tuesday, and then nothing against Vegas or anything else, but I think Kansas City is good for us, Cowtown. So got a lot of support. Going to be able to go out there and be with us. So I'm very happy and very excited about the Kansas City thing.
So UFC 288 fight night in Kansas City. Who else is on the card? Who are you excited to be fighting with that night?
Right. So Max Holloway's headlining the show. This will be the second time I fight on a fight card with Max Holloway. First time was in 2014 in UFC Tulsa. So here we are 9 years later, and Max is headlining the show, and I'm nowhere near the end of the card. But I'll be, second or third fight opening up the show in Kansas City. Super excited about it. But it's a great fight night. I mean, I'm pulling it up. You probably got me and Gaston fight 2 or 3. Mateus Nicolau, Brandon Royval, those guys are top-ranked fighters in the flyweight division. My buddy Danger fought both of those guys in scraps. Clay Guida's fighting. Ed Herman's fighting. Zach Cummins, two just OGs. A guy that I fought back in 2013, Chris Gutierrez. He broke my leg, actually. He's fighting Pedro Munoz. He's got a bunch of leg kick TKOs, so it makes me feel slightly not as bad getting my leg broken by him, but hope he continues to do well. So I'll see him out there. Fighting Pedro Munoz, Billy Q, and Edson Barbosa. Man, it's going to be hard to get fight of the night on next Saturday. Co-main event, Ion Cutelaba versus Tanner Boser. And then Max Holloway versus Arnold Allen. Probably going to get the fight of the night also. So it's going to be, and then that flyweight scrap, my scrap. There's so many good fights. It's a big one that I think the stadium's going to be pretty close to full, even on whenever I get out there. So I'm excited about it. Yeah.
Esther, you excited to watch Daddy fight?
Yeah.
Yeah. So fight's coming up soon. Moving on to faith. How does your faith play a role in that, in how you approach fighting?
Good question. Yeah, I think, for me, it gives me an opportunity to, mainly from a coach's role, give me an opportunity to have a little bit of a platform to speak into people's lives and just to bless them and, wrap hands and say a prayer for them. And without overreaching my bounds, I feel like people come to their things when they come to it, but certainly it's my job to maybe nudge in the right direction. And so from a coach's point of view, that it's a big deal. It's kind of integral to what I do. From a fighter's point of view, we're all nice guys and we're all compassionate and we all want what's best for the other guy, I guess. But I want to win, so I'm not too compassionate in that sense. I want to win. I believe in God and I want to share what He's done in my life, but also want to win. So I'm friends with guys that are believers that aren't that I train with guys that are of other religions, and like that's all good too, So it gives me an opportunity that maybe I wouldn't have before, just to be an example of how we should, and I'm still trying to live in such a way. But I think it's fighting is an area where you can be so close in blood, sweat, and tears that conversations like faith really shouldn't be that difficult, because you're so already involved, you could say, or so your relationship when you're beating each other up becomes so deep already. But and I say that, but it's like you can be tough, but not open to having a faith-filled conversation. So fight week kind of allows that for me, because there's a lot of downtime. Outside of that, I have a lot of coaching responsibilities, and just I'm trying to be humble and be coachable as well. So I think it comes down to more the minute opportunities, the individual relationships. But yeah.
So we got a question from Coach Kim. She said, "How do you successfully and sanely manage all of the many obstacles you've experienced in your life up to now?"
Are you saying that I am successfully and sanely managing those obstacles in my life? Probably mostly due to my faith, and because I definitely didn't successfully and sanely manage things maybe until college, when I kind of rededicated my life. And I would say the counterpart is my wife, that she whenever I'm not successful and sane, she is all of those things for me. So that's if you got a charity in your corner, then you're gonna be all right. So yeah, it's not. And a great team, like Coach Kim's one of our staff, and she goes above and beyond everybody. We just went to Orlando with our team, and like I just love the people I work with, and I do feel like they would go to war with me. And my home team, my fighters here, my fighters I train with in Austin and with Dallas and stuff like that. Like everybody's just great. So it's like we all got great momentum, forwards momentum, and I'm not going. Even though it's a big workload with everything we got going on, it's just we're all pulling in the same direction, and the people that I get to work with is probably what makes it successful. So at the end of the day.
So you're getting back into the UFC. You've had a lot of time off. You've had several fights in the UFC, ranging from 2014 to now 2023. How has your faith helped you through those highs and lows of, like you said, like you broke your leg 2 weeks before our wedding. You've had heartbreaking split decision losses, sickness, other things. Almost all of your fights have been short notice that we've had with the UFC. How's your faith really helped you to navigate all the uncertainty and sometimes disappointment you've had in this experience?
Yeah, you can say I've been disappointed, but I mean, I get great opportunity. Not everybody gets a second shot in the UFC. Not everybody gets a first shot in the UFC. I got to go to Abu Dhabi, and compete on 10 days notice. Granted, everybody was in bubble suits and stuff, so we didn't really get to do too much. But I got to travel and experience things. So I look at it in a positive light. I broke my leg in 2015. I thought I was going to, to Chris Gutierrez, I thought I was going to come back and win a few fights in a row, 3-4 in a row in a year, and then be back in the UFC. And that just wasn't the path that I had laid out in front of me. In my next fight, it was a tough one against Chris, and my leg broke, and they told us that we might not ever fight again, and that was tough. Or we might not play football with my son that was going to be born and stuff like that. So those were tough times when I had to kind of really delve into like, what is fighting now for me? Because it was an identity for me at the time, and so So I've always loved to teach and to coach, and so we had the opportunity to open up a gym, and that's really the avenue that one, provided for my family, two, allowed me to continue even have the goal of being in the UFC in the future, even though my leg was broken and it was like a 3-year hiatus. That opportunity was still there if I could compete athletically at a high level again. That was, it was all moving in that same direction. And then I got on a win streak, had some tough fights, but and fortunately we got another opportunity. Granted, it was short notice opportunity in Abu Dhabi, and we took an L to Jack Shore. And then since then, it's been over 2.5 years since I've been in the octagon. I've had my fair share of fights drop. I've probably done 6 fight camps over the last 2.5 years for myself or for friends. So at this point, it's just time for me to go out there and get this thing done. I'm ready to go. But along the journey, like I've grown up. I'm not 24 in the UFC thinking I'm going to be the next, John Jones. I'm 33, and I just want to go. I want to have a simple life, and I want to work hard. And the stuff that I've done over I've been doing this since I was 7. So I just want the last quarter of a century to amount to a victory, and then we'll see what happens.
Speaking of, Coach Kim also asked, what age did you start training? And how did you get into mixed martial arts?
Yeah, my parents signed me up on a 6-week for $69 trial in Taekwondo, kind of karate, right, when I was a kid. And I did that through high school. I really fell in love with like teaching, assistant coaching when I was like 10, 11, 12 years old. I started like kind of coaching classes on my own. And then, I wrestled in high school from 13 to 17 years old. Did okay, competed hard. And then right around that time, they had the UFC, I was watching them, but Forrest Griffin and Stephen Bonner fought. I watched them when I was 16 years old, and I said, that's what I want to do after wrestling season ends. So, it kind of blew up a little bit around here, had some fights. I started doing MMA, kind of underground MMA gym with my buddy Eric Scallon, Dustin Poirier, Mike Guidry, some of just the OGs around here, and we really just kind of started beating each other up and just fighting before like official training was established. But that's kind of Louisiana culture, right? Everybody just put the gloves on and go to it. So I started fighting locally at the Cajun Dome and at the horse arenas around here, and and then, Tim Crater, Coach Tim, moved back from California, opened up a gym around here. Michael was my first jiu-jitsu coach at 18 years old, went to Cajun Karate and jiu-jitsu and started doing jiu-jitsu. So whenever I graduated high school, I just started trying to delve into everything. Jiu-jitsu, I had wrestled, I had done striking, I did a little bit of boxing, probably 5-6 amateur boxing bouts. Amassed a career of 8 wins, 4 losses in amateur MMA. Then I bought a ticket to Thailand for 6 weeks. Bought a plane ticket, ended up there, and at 20 years old, and spent 6 weeks there. Came back and got my first knockouts. Turned pro, and I just knew I wanted to take it seriously. So I went to Thailand, and then I kept going back. 6 months later, I went back. 6 months later, I went back, so probably 6 or 7 times now. So that's really when I started getting like my striking started all coming together. So and then I did judo at UL for a couple years. So I got my black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Happy with that. I've invested heavily into Muay Thai, traveling, competing. Competed on the judo circuit collegiately. So. I like to think I'm well-rounded. Wrestled in high school, continued to scrap. So, yeah.
So now you started at 7. Our kiddos have both been training. We've got our sweet Esther that was just with us, who's now 4. Hosea's 6. He's got some little kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, and MMA bouts. How's that experience been for you, having you started at 7 and doing those things and getting to experience this with Hosea?
Yeah, it's great. It's really memorable. the pictures and stuff that we get to have. I mean, I feel like I could frame almost every single one of them. And at this point, I'm just, maybe not trying to rush it, because he's been in a cage with lights and everything at 6 years old. So he's got experience. And so those things are kind of like, make me teary eyed or something. So I don't really want to rush it and run through that too early, and because it's a long game. I'm in this for the long haul. I want to continue doing jiu-jitsu until I'm, until I'm too old to do so. Maybe I'd like to pass. I'd like to be able to roll jiu-jitsu with my grandchildren and great grandchildren, perhaps. And that's the beauty of martial arts. So it is a long game. I don't want to intensify things too much, but at the same time, if he wants to compete and wants to earn medals and asking about it, then I will kind of fuel the flame and provide opportunity to travel and go places. And he gets to come with me for fight camps or certain special things, that not everybody exactly gets to do, but it makes it special for us. Just more time with my son. So I am thankful that he loves to do it and to spend time on the mat, because it would be obviously very difficult if it was something that he wasn't as keen on. So it's both my job to make sure he is educated in martial arts, but enjoys it. So smiles and loves it, because the more he loves it, the more he'll want to do it. The more he wants to do it, the better he'll get at it. So it's a cycle, and I feel that way about him. And so that's how I feel about the other kids that we teach as well. So Esther hasn't exactly started in classes yet, but she's like assistant coaching the younger classes kind of now and helping with stuff. So she likes her one-on-ones with daddy, and that's fine. If their pace is different, she doesn't have to throw on the uniform or anything just yet. So it's the long haul for me. I want them to love it. So.
Speaking of family, what are the most memorable moments you've shared with each of our kids?
Yeah, our last trip to Orlando was probably the most fun I've had. Like a vacation. I didn't come up doing family vacations and stuff, but the last trip with Orlando was great with our children, as well as our cousins and nephews and just aunts and aunties and mimis and pawpaws, and that was one of the most fun trips that I think I've probably ever taken. So I'm thankful for that kind of family reunion trip. But other than that, every trip with Hosea and Esther are fun. So. We like to camp outside, or we like to go. I like to go on some road trips. Road trips are fun with me, fun for me to go to take the kids on road trips and stuff. So that's one of the future goals. North Dakota was fun. The whole week to Missouri, Arkansas, Missouri, North Dakota was a fun trip for me.
Yep, you had mentioned Thailand earlier, and kind of fun fact about us: we met. I used to be a missionary to Thailand. I served there for quite a long period of time, on and off between things. And as we got married, we actually realized that every time Aaron was in Thailand training, I was in country somewhere else in Thailand at a different capacity. And prior to Aaron and I meeting at the SALT conference, Aaron was part of Chi Alpha in college. He had emailed into the director that I was working with and requested to come and spend some time there. He trained often, but he also wanted to give back in some capacity to a place that he had really enjoyed. So they would only give us first names of people, because we would message him and be like, you should come, this is great. So for about 6 months before Aaron and I ever met, I had been praying for, some Aaron to come to Thailand, and then came back, spoke at a conference, and 8 months later we got engaged. A month and a day later, we were in Thailand, and realized that at some point, whether or not we would have met at SALT, I think we would have met there in Thailand. So Thailand's a super special place for us.
Yeah. And that goes along with faith, and how that ties into my martial arts career. Is there's so many examples of how God kind of provides certain things in my life when I need it, or I couldn't have orchestrated the way my life has laid out. I'm a pretty rational person, I like to think. Some people might not agree. But, I just think there's so many boxes that could not have, things that could not have lined up had I even tried to make it happen that way. There's so many coincidences that only God could really provide for it. The Thailand stuff being one, and I know somebody had asked like, what would my life look like without martial arts? That's a tough one, because maybe I wouldn't have met my wife because I wouldn't have been going to Thailand. Like maybe it's that integral. Maybe all the people that are closest to me right now, I'd have a whole new set of friends. Who knows? It's kind of hard to go down that path of who knows, because I've been in it. It's a quarter of a century I've been in the martial arts. So and I just love meeting new people and expanding that network and that circle. So
we'll hop into some of the questions. Question from one of our coaches and fighters, Justin Rayo. What's your craziest weight cut story?
Craziest weight cut? Yeah, so I got maybe a couple quick stories. One time I was at a friend's camp and we were hunting, and we just hunted. We finished up eating some Rocky Road ice cream, and I didn't get service. We finished up eating up. I get home, or I get to driving on the interstate, and as I'm driving on the interstate, I get service, and I get a voicemail from Coach Tim, and he's like, "Hey, somebody asked about a fight a fight offer in Oklahoma if you'd be against a really top prospect there in 3 weeks at 135, and they asked if you'd be interested." So naturally, I said yes, and so we're gonna be there in Oklahoma in 3 weeks. And I was like full belly, 162 pounds. Or as soon as I got home, I listened to the voicemail. I was like, oh my God, I got full of ice cream. Stepped on the scale at like 162 pounds. I was like, we got 3 weeks to get down to 136. And we sure got there. It was miserable, but we sure got there. And I remember those hot baths being terrible on the last day. But if I get through that, then we can get down to weight. So I remember that part being a tough one. And then I remember one time I like to push the weight cut all the way, like do the final 5 pounds as close to weigh-ins as possible, just to limit the amount of suffering that you're doing at the end. And so I thought I was gonna like outthink the system, and we were fighting in Baton Rouge, and I was just gonna go to my hotel a few hours early and then do the last 4 pounds there at the hotel in the bathtub there, where you do the hot bath and the Epsom salt. And so I wasn't even going to do it at my house. Baton Rouge is only an hour away, but I was going to drive there so I could feel good and then cut the last 4 pounds there and then weigh in. But I get to Baton Rouge and my hotel bathtub is like a child tub.
Basically doesn't have a tub.
And then the water wasn't even hot. And so I was just and I'm used to doing my stuff. I had my Epsom salt, I had everything, but I was like, I can't even crack a sweat in this bathtub, nor can I put my knees under the water. So I got on the treadmill. I had to do things the hard way, So that was like one of those, like, you try to control everything, but some things, maybe you should call ahead, or maybe you should, do the cut in your own bathtub or something like that. So that was a terrible weight cut of mine. We got there, of course, but that was a tough one. So, yeah.
Next question comes from Brady Gotro. Who's your favorite sponsor?
Favorite sponsor. I got a lot of great ones for this fight. This is my Fight Week fight kit. You see my dragon logo. I want to give a shout out to Mr. Spanky and Miss Carrie from Moore's Machine Shop. They've been with me since 2014. So we got linked up, and they're just the best. They have an amazing God story as well, and we just appreciate them so much. But Moore's Machine Shop, they are a platinum sponsor, as well as Mr. Steve Orlando Wellbore. They are Mr. Orlando, their grandson, Gabe Reed, trains with us, fights with us, and they're a platinum sponsor for this fight as well. So I appreciate Mr. Steve-O. Been with me for a long time, or been integrated, loves the martial arts, and supporting what we do. So thank you out to Steve-O. I got Cypress Energy with Owen and the Hargraves, or Mr. Toby and Owen and the Hargraves. Hood Guys, Mr. Blackistone. I got Pizza Village with Mr. Cody Broussard. Magnolia Torque with Joey Shaw and Vance Shaw, one of our fighters. I got the Ox, Oscillating Combat Training Systems with Mr. Tony. Tony's Boxing and the Ox. Well, you'll hear more about that soon. And then I got, speaking of favorite sponsors to pick on, Brems, Brady Gotro with Brems AC Heating and Cooling. They've been one of our Headkicks red corner, blue corner sponsors since we opened up at our new location. They did all of our AC and heating in the new building, as well as at my personal house. I've known Brady for over 12 years, and so he won't be making it to Kansas City, so he cannot fall under the favorite sponsor, but I know he wants to be there. He just has an obligation. So anyway, shout out to all my sponsors. This is the new fight kit, and this will be available in select sizes next week, okay? So again, thank you guys. Your logos are all on the front and on the sides and on the back. I got my name, Fight Night, and KCMO, Kansas City, Missouri, on the back, okay?
Question from Cody Dillahay. Bo Nickel versus Gordon Ryan in the UFC. 3 rounds. Who you got?
Bo Nickel versus Gordon Ryan in the UFC. So Gordon is the best jiu-jitsu grappler in the world for sure. Bo Nickel can grapple and he can wrestle. You know, you're talking specialists versus maybe more all around, and you know, Bo can fight. Gordon is the best in the world, and if he latches onto anybody's leg or neck or arm, it's gone. But sometimes when you just get jabbed in the face or kicked, it would take a lot for Gordon's high level jiu-jitsu to go down. But I've seen, black belts turn into blue belts by getting, stiff jab or hard punches, and that's obvious. You see that in the UFC when guys take a hard shot. You really see kind of what's left of it. So, I mean, it's like as is, obviously Bo Nickel would win, I think. But if Gordon added striking 3-4 days a week, then we could see. Do I think he's doing any striking right now? I don't believe so, because to compete, to be the best in the world at one thing, you have to, especially in jiu-jitsu, when everybody's just getting after it right now with innovating moves, you have to specialize. I don't think he's doing, striking or cage wrestling or things like that. And at this point, it may be a little bit late. And it's just being realistic, because you got guys fighting this weekend that are 18 years old, and that is where we're at in this game. Is even the young guns are killers. So they're just sharks in the water. So Cody, I'd say Bo Nickel. Anytime within the next year, I'd say Bo Nickel. Gordon would have to be doing some striking, some cage wrestling, some knees, some kicks for at least a year and a half. So, yeah.
Another question from Coach Kim. For parents that are on the fence with their kids wanting to train MMA because they might feel like it's a dangerous sport or they might think it's something that's violence, what would be your response to that?
Yeah, those are fair statements, because what you see on TV is violent. The UFC is a violent sport. Any of the MMA shows, they're even more dramatic and violent. Any MMA movies. So I think you just have to break it down. Is it cage fighting that your kid wants to do, or and maybe that is what interests them, the fighting aspect of it. From a man's point of view, it's like you get to test your mettle and what you got. But there's the aspect of fighting, and there's the aspect of martial artists. And I think you got to have both. Some people are maybe 50-50. Some people are 70% fighter, 30% martial artist. Some people were martial artists long before they were fighters. Like myself, I was a martial artist long before I ever had my first MMA fight. But I know plenty of people that fought in the street or in the cage well before ever having taken a martial arts discipline. So those are fair questions. Is it dangerous? Yeah, it's dangerous to just get on in there and just start fighting. So I think it comes down to set a goal. If your kid wants to do it, even if they just watch the UFC and they say, that's what I want to do. Okay, is your kid serious about it? If so, then we need to set a regimen, because you don't just sign up for the UFC. You have to be selected. In order to do that, it's quite a rigorous process. So So we got to lay a foundation of jiu-jitsu, wrestling, and then striking. So you got to be able to do those things. Fortunately, there's a lot of great academies around here, a lot of great wrestling programs, and even striking programs now are getting more prominent. So you have to be disciplined about it. And if your kid wants to just see if they really want to do it, then all right, 2 days a week jiu-jitsu. They got to be wrestling at some point, doing some striking as well. The sooner they get into some of it, the better. Even if it's just fun at times, you don't put them in MMA practice. You put them in kickboxing class, jiu-jitsu class, and then wrestling season whenever that comes around. And that doesn't have to happen at 6 years old, but the sooner they get into any form of martial arts, especially girls, the better they're going to be at the close quarter combat situation, okay? The more pliable, the less injury prone they're going to be, rather than starting when they're 18 years old. They'll see certain experiences, know when to panic, not panic, earlier on in life. So is it dangerous? Absolutely. At the extreme limits, it is. That's why people watch it. But my son was 6 years old, and I took him, cornered him in an MMA fight, and they didn't do strikes in the head, which is you shouldn't for anybody under 16 years old. At 15, 16, parents and the kid get discretion based on how long you've been training. But before that, in my opinion, you probably shouldn't be taking too many head strikes. So I'm just not an advocate for head strikes for kids that are 14 and under. And you can, if you have a high level of training, if you've been training to defend. So even when you're 6 through 14 years old, you still need to be training defense for head strikes, kicks, and things like that. So that way, given the opportunity, or if you do end up in a self-defense situation, you can defend head strikes. But I don't think you should be thrown in there on your first month and let's see how you defend this, because that's not good. So I would say it comes down to how serious is your kid. If they say they want to do that, great. Put them in jiu-jitsu. That's probably your safest route first, or a kickboxing program that doesn't encourage sparring right away. If you're a teenager, then they probably see it and they want to do it a little bit faster, and then that's fine. And if they can afford to spar maybe within a few months, or get a little bit more faster action, do some live rolling. But it comes down to the coach and the parents and the kids being all on the same page that we'll get you there, but we're not trying to fight. I'm not trying to fight you at 12 years old. You can't necessarily have one until you're 17 years old anyway, an actual fight. Because there's a big difference between body strikes and then head strikes as well. So, I'd say let them do it from a martial arts side if they're a kid. And then you'll find out if they got some fighter in them by them working through certain positions and submissions and stuff like that. And then if they got that fight in them, then great. Let's see how far we can go. If they just want to do it for fun and martial arts, then at least you got a kid that can defend themselves and learn some of the great tenets of martial arts and make some friends and hopefully some coaches and mentors that'll stick with them for a long time. So, yeah.
So outside of the training aspect, what would be your advice for any team that wants to be successful in the UFC or in any particular thing outside of just the mat time? What types of things would you recommend teams be putting their emphasis on to really be successful long term?
Consistency in the academy, 2 days a week. That's probably, and then there's so many things that pull. I say consistency because there's so many things that pull you elsewhere. So you can do, as a teenager, you may even get a car soon, at 15 and start having more time on your hands. You're just more independent. So it's you can do 2 days a week of jiu-jitsu or kickboxing and still do other things, in my opinion. So at least if that's a goal to be in the UFC, then it should, I'm not saying you don't have to commit your whole schedule to training, but you should stay in it 2 to 3 days a week if that's somewhat of a goal for you. Because you can turn it up when you're 17, 18 years old, do fight camps and stuff like that. But what you can't do is go back and fill holes of, here's when we did the mount escapes, here's when we did submission defense and stuff like that. Because when you turn 17, 18 years old and you get this fight that you've been wanting to get, it's not time to go back and do like, basics 101. It's time to get in shape and get you where we need to get you. So, but, you got to keep the foundation strong. So I would suggest staying in there 2 days a week, even though there's times where you might like not want to go, like that's fine. That's when you're in a marathon, there's times when you're going to run fast and there's times where you're going to go slow. And there's times where you might be cramping and you got to just walk a little bit. So like, even if it's 1 day a week or something like that, consistency, and parents let them, if they got to go down to 1 day a week because they got so much other stuff going on, that's fine. But stay consistent stay influenced in the gym. Don't let there be a 4-month lag. When you come back, coach is like, well, you want to be in the UFC? Okay, well, let's, we got to make up ground, right? So, and whether that's jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, wrestling, as long as you're on a mat, a combat sports mat, I think you got to stay consistent.
Question from Coach Kim. What age have you felt your best, Coach?
What kind of question is that, Coach Kim? What age have you felt your best at? I'd say I'm feeling my best right now, 33 years young. Okay, I hope you are too. Everybody out there. Okay, no, but yeah, I feel great. I feel good. I mean, certainly I don't recover as fast as I used to from bumps and bruises, but I've got much more fight IQ and much more wisdom in how I approach my training that I feel like outweighs the bumps and bruises that I carry along for a longer time. So I'm just doing things smarter. I feel great. I feel great.
One of the last questions. Any new hobbies in the near future?
So my wife and I bought some land, and we just starting to finish up our house. And we got chickens. My wife's a big avid gardener, flowers, crops. The goal is to be, as self-sufficient as possible. And, farm came with a tractor, and I'm out there and trying to learn how to plow. I didn't grow up in the farm life, but I'm enjoying the farm life. So, yeah, the goal is we got a bunch of trees on the property. The goal is to chop down some trees, build our own fences, and, raise some livestock and goats and pigs and maybe some cows in the future, and till some ground. And there's a country song, buy 5 acres in a farmhouse, paint it white. We painted ours green, but so that's the plan. And I just enjoy fixing up my John Deere tractor, and I got some machines I got to fix up. And I didn't grow up doing vehicles either, doing maintenance, but it's just, I think it's necessary. I think I want to spend that time with my son, learning how to do those things, take care of cattle, not cattle, but take care of whatever, livestock, and then fix up machinery. And then maybe in the future, if my wife lets me, get a 1967 Mustang. Maybe we go win and get a bonus. That'd be nice. And then, as he turns 8, 9 years old, get into like restoring, take a few years and restore an old car. I've always loved the classic Mustang, and both he and I would learn how to handle tools a little bit. We got a little shop on the property, and kind of organize my life, my tools, my tool life, and have fun doing that. That'd be a little hobby, mow the grass and fix up the stuff. So
for us, buying this land was a very intentional choice in the way that we wanted to spend the rest of our days. We want to be outside with our kids. We want to be in fresh air and sunshine. We want to be moving all the time. Farm Strong is a legit thing. Things break down and you got to move them. Working the ground, being a part of nature and the environment, actually sowing and reaping a lot of things in our faith. Like the Bible is very agricultural. It's really helped the Bible to come to life to us. And we want to leave a legacy just beyond the things that we invest into kids. When we bought our property, there's probably 30-something massive live oak trees on our entire property that someone planted at some point. And we're getting to reap the benefits of those in that beautiful place. And we really want to invest back into our community and the legacy on the land, where every single tree that we plant, every fruit tree, every native, anything that we put on there is going to continue feeding generations past us. And that's something that we're really excited about. Last thing, Coach, we got fights coming up this weekend. You want to pull up the fight card, make some predictions on this weekend's fight card?
Yeah. And hobbies regarding the farm, like we just got our hands full. I could probably trim trees for the next 4 years. But as we build out the farm, like, we want to be able to have a property that we can host people and host educational things for my wife hosts garden classes. We can host them at the farm, host them at the gym, and just really, there's no limit to, to how not big that can get, but to how many people we can affect in our community. So like that's where a lot of passion is kind of turned into, after fight camp and stuff like that. Like I look forward to just, helping out in that sense. So yeah. Oh, and hobbies. The other one was hunting. I got into bow hunting thanks to my friend Ty Listy and Abe Williams, and I didn't go bow hunting at all this season because I was in multiple fight camps and stuff like that. So getting back into bow hunting is again, I did that. I learned to hunt so I could spend that time with Hosea, but he'll be 7, and we can maybe start to add that back and take some trips. Go. If we can do things around here, and then maybe take some father-son trips to, Utah and Kansas and Missouri and stuff like that, and make some big trips, make some big memories. So that's one of the hobbies I'll get into in the near future. And then the fight card, right? Mm-hmm. For this weekend, let's see here. This weekend is Izzy versus Pajeda. I know my guys. So first off on the card is one of the ladies I train with, Sam Hughes, one of my teammates, my away team at Fortis MMA. She's a stud of I think a flyweight in the female division, and so I'm super excited to support her tomorrow. So she's the first fight on the card. So on the prelim, Sam Hughes from Fortis MMA. Got some other good ones. Let's see. Gaston is fighting Chris Curtis. That's a good fight on the prelims. Michael Chiesa is fighting Zhangling Li. Michelle Watterson's fighting. And then Raul Rosas Jr. I'm going to go with Rosas Jr. I think he's legit. I'm going to go with Kevin Holland over Ponzinibbio. I'm going to go with, we got Yanez versus Font. That's going to be a great one. I'm going to go with Yanez. He's with my guy Danger and Thug Jitsu in Houston. So then we got Burns versus Masvidal. That's a close one, but I'm going to go with Burns. And then Izzy versus Pajeda. I'm going to go with Pajeda one more time for the dub, and then he's going to move up a weight class is what I'm going to go with. Okay? So that's my prediction for this weekend.
Anything you want to leave us with before your fight, Coach?
I just want to say thank you to all the people that have supported me for so long, and that I've been able to teach. At this point, I get to now teach people. They bring in their kids, and I used to teach them when they were younger. So that's a great honor of mine. And training is my journey. Training, fighting, but teaching is my joy. And so. Yeah, thanks to everybody. Shout out to a lot of guys that have been critical this camp. Mr. Tony Thibodeau, my boxing striking coach for many years now. I appreciate the commitment and the time and the investment into me. We just trained earlier today. He's got the oscillating combat training systems that you'll see more about, and it's a really revolutionary product in the boxing and the martial arts space. So stay tuned for that. I want to give a big shout out to Gary Tonin, as well as John Danaher from Austin. I got linked up with them maybe 3 or 4 months ago, or maybe a little bit more than that. Kind of helped Gary out for his fight camp a little bit, and so I appreciate their insight, their wisdom, and just their training rounds. And then Fortis MMA, my away team. Coach Safe is kind of my guy, my number one. He cornered against me in 2014 when I lost to Matt Hobar and I got released from the UFC. And so, I got linked up with Coach Safe through Matt Schnell, who's also going to be with me in the corner. And he told me he wants to see me win. He remembers the fight and he knows the potential I have. And so, I don't know that somebody, like, I believe so much in myself, but I would say Coach Safe is a very close second in his belief in me, and to have that is great. So I look forward to having him in my corner on April 15th and get my hand raised. Number one for me and my family, and then for Coach Safe, and then probably most importantly, I want to thank my team at Headkicks, my partner Kurt Oshermal, and then my wife and my family who have made. I make willing sacrifices for time and the punishment on my body, but the tough part is the sacrifices my family and my children make, my wife makes for me to do that. So after this fight, I look forward to attempting to pay back some of that time. Like I said, I've done 6 fight camps, with no fights. So we getting this one in April 15th, and I'm due to take my wife on several dates and take my family on some on some visits, some vacations, or just some time on the farm, whatever it is they want to do. So I appreciate everything that they've done for me, and all the well wishes from the fans, and of course my kids and parents that I teach, and everybody here. So I'm very thankful for everything. I'm grateful for everything, for the opportunity. But certainly we have worked for it, and I've logged a lot of time. And so on April 15th, people are going to see what persistence and perseverance means. And that's one of the reasons why I do it too, so that my kids they understand what it means to set a goal and to follow through with a goal. And that's what these fight camps has been. We're gonna go do it on April 15th. So
thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys.